church whose people are baptized in water and in the Holy Spirit and brought into a genuine life in the Spirit.
How does that affect church life when people, different individuals, experience the baptism of the Holy Spirit? How would you want it to affect church life?
Well, I think it's important that the church is the place where the Holy Spirit dwells, as it were. We're told in Ephesians 2, the church is the dwelling place of God in the Spirit. And so the church should be open to the phenomenal manifestation of the presence of the Spirit. And so for me, when I was first baptized in the Spirit, the beginning of the charismatic movement, some would say, well, that's a private experience. And they would use expressions like, you now have your private prayer language. So it's just for you, and you may want to do that somewhere, but don't mess with the church.
Why weren't you satisfied with that?
Well, because the presence of the Spirit is our huge privilege. And that it says the manifestation of the Spirit is for the common good. It's for all of us together to experience the presence of the Spirit with us. So we're not meant to live in a church where the Spirit is not manifest and then go away to charismatic conferences and then come back to church where there's no manifestation of the Spirit. It's obvious that you gather to the presence of the Holy Spirit.
What would you say that's manifestation of the Spirit of God and the sense of living in the good of that? What does that look like in church life? How would you expect to see that manifested?
I think that when we come together, we come to the certain promise. Jesus said, I won't leave you orphans, I will come to you. And so when we come to church and we're beginning to worship, we are looking for the awareness of the presence of the Spirit here. I love that song of Matt Redman's which says, praise is waiting for you in this place. We're beginning to praise, we're waiting for the phenomenon of the presence of the Spirit. We're not coming to sing a few songs, we're not coming only for the preaching, we're coming to meet with Jesus. We're gathering to our risen Lord.
So there's an expectation of an encounter with God.
Absolutely. And so church without the presence of the Lord, doing church without Jesus is terribly boring. So we want the manifestation of his presence.
I remember you saying before that sometimes church can have almost a synagogue model to it, where the synagogue was the place where the people of God gathered to the book. But you would covet a temple model, if you like, to church, where we don't only gather to the book, but to the presence of God.
Absolutely. And I think going back to the Psalms, going back to the building of the tabernacle, then the temple, this was the privilege of God's people, that God was dwelling among them. His glory was among them. That's what it is to be God's people. This is what makes us distinct. His presence is with us. And so, yes, the synagogues were initially built when Israel was taken into captivity. They were away from the temple, and they built synagogues around the holy sacred scriptures to retain their distinctives, to remember the teachings and the promises, of course. But now we are his temple. Jesus came, he was the temple, now we are the temple of his presence. His presence is manifestly with us. So we're not looking for synagogue life, as you say. We're looking for temple life where anything can happen. God is here with us.